It is an age-old problem in cities across America: rats.
New York is under siege by an army of rodents, and the idea of releasing millions of rat hunters is starting to sound like a serious plan. Most people realize the city has a problem, but they do not know that the rodent population is now nearly a third of the human population. The city is essentially a paradise for pests, and the current methods of fighting them are failing miserably.
We're going to take a real serious approach to ending this rat tail.
Basically, we are looking at a future where predators might be our only hope. But history tells us that this path is full of hidden dangers and unexpected turns. Surrendering to the streets. The year was 2003 when something truly unbelievable happened in the heart of New York. 3 separate fire crews were forced to drop everything and leave their station as fast as they could. You might think it was because of a major gas leak or a structural failure, but the truth is much stranger. It was not a fire that drove them out, but a massive invasion of rats that had taken over the building. Hundreds of these rodents, some described as being as large as small cats, had moved into the walls and the ceilings. They were in the air vents and under the floorboards, making life impossible for the people living there. This did not just happen in a single night. The firefighters had spent nearly a year trying to handle the situation themselves. They brought in private pest control experts and set dozens of traps every single evening. Sometimes they would catch more than 12 rats in a single night, yet the numbers never seemed to go down. The infestation was so deep that the building had to be completely emptied for a full professional cleanup. The most mysterious part is that nobody could ever figure out exactly where they all came from. Some thought they crawled up from the E and F subway lines, while others blamed a construction site 6 blocks away on Queens Boulevard. But the source did not matter as much as the lesson. If a group of trained firefighters cannot win a fight against rats in their own home, what chance does the rest of the city have? But here is the catch. The Firehouse was just a small preview of a much larger war. In 2014, a famous nature channel named New York the worst rat city in the entire world. While some people might think of rats as a quirky cultural symbol of the city, the data shows they are a massive health and safety threat. New York is essentially a giant playground for these animals because it provides everything they need to thrive. For starters, a rat only needs about 1 ounce of food and 1 ounce of water every day to stay healthy. In a city where bags of trash sit on the sidewalk every night, finding a meal is easier than finding a taxi. Scientists have looked at the housing standards, the climate, and the way trash is handled, and they all agree that New York is a perfect habitat. These animals are not just living in the subways anymore. They are chewing through the wiring of expensive cars and living inside the walls of luxury apartments. At night, it is very common for people to have to step off the sidewalk just to let a group of rats pass by. These rodents are not afraid of people because they are big, mean, and very smart. They have learned how to avoid traps and how to recognize which baits are dangerous. Every year, the city spends millions of dollars trying to stop them, but the population just keeps growing. What most people do not realize is that the numbers are actually way higher than we thought. 3 million neighbors you never wanted. For a long time, there was an old urban legend that said there were 5 times as many rats as people in New York. While that turned out to be a bit of an exaggeration, the real numbers are still terrifying. In 2014, a statistician estimated that there were about 2 million rats in the city. However, a study from 2023 showed that the number has climbed to around 3 million. That means in just about 10 years, the rat population grew by 50%. This is not just about seeing a gross animal on your way to work. These rats carry dangerous germs that can cause fever, vomiting, and even the plague. While we have modern medicine now, catching a disease from a rodent is still a major risk, especially for children who have weaker immune systems. In 2023, the city saw a record number of cases of a rare disease spread by rat urine. On top of the health risks, the financial damage is unbelievable. It is estimated that rats cost the economy about $27 billion every year through destroyed food and damaged infrastructure. New York is currently ranked 3rd on the list of most infested cities in the country, sitting right behind Los Angeles and Chicago. From Seattle to Buenos Aires, these animals are taking over cities all over the world. The scary part is that these creatures are capable of shutting down entire highways. In 2019, a major power outage on an interstate in Arkansas was blamed entirely on rodents. They chewed through the wiring at a busy intersection and put out all the streetlights. Even when the city hired experts to fix the wires, they could not guarantee the rats would stay away. This is because rats have a natural need to chew on hard materials to keep their teeth from growing too long. Back in 1944, a famous expert said that if you have rats in your house, you only have two choices: wait for them to die or burn the house down. Since then, we have not really found a better way to get rid of them for good. The city authorities in New York have tried using carbon monoxide gas to fill up the holes in the ground, but it did not work. They have tried using groups of dogs to hunt them down, but that did not work either. Most people living in the city want the rats gone, but very few people actually believe it is possible. This has led some people to look for more natural solutions, like bringing in other animals to do the work for us. And that is putting it lightly when you consider the history of using cats as soldiers. One of the most famous stories of using animals to handle pests comes from the island of Borneo in the 1950s. They had a major problem with mosquitoes and used a strong chemical to get rid of them. It worked on the bugs, but it also ended up making all the local cats sick. Once the cats were gone, the rat population exploded and started eating all the food supplies in the villages. To fix the problem, the government actually dropped baskets of live cats from airplanes using parachutes. About 20 cats landed and began to handle the rats, which worked for a while. But it is not that simple. In other places, like a small island near Pakistan, releasing cats turned into a disaster. The cats realized that instead of fighting large, mean rats, it was much easier to eat the eggs of rare sea turtles and birds. Instead of being the heroes, the cats became the new villains of the island. This is exactly what happened in Australia, where feral cats have caused the extinction of 27 different species. There are between 2 million and 6 million wild cats in Australia, and they eliminate about 5 million local animals every single day. It turns out that a cat might be a bigger threat to the environment than the rats themselves. Why New York cats have given up. New York City is a place where everything is supposed to be the biggest and the best, or at least the loudest. We have the tallest buildings, the fastest pace, and, notoriously, the most resilient rats on the planet. For decades, the folk wisdom offered a simple biological solution: get more cats. People imagined a secret nocturnal war happening beneath the fire escapes, a feline-led resistance that kept the rodent population in check. But a recent groundbreaking study in Brooklyn has officially shattered that myth. It turns out that city cats are actually pretty useless when it comes to catching big rats. Researchers spent 3 months monitoring a waste recycling plant, a literal rat Disneyland, where both species lived side by side. They captured over 300 videos of cats and rats interacting. Out of all those encounters, the cats managed to take out exactly 2 rodents. The reason for this feline failure is embarrassingly simple. New York rats are just too big. In most parts of the world, like New Zealand or the UK, a standard rat might weigh about 5 ounces. That's a snack for a cat. But a New York brown rat? That is a different beast entirely. These rodents frequently weigh more than 11 ounces, with some mega rats pushing nearly a pound of pure muscle, gristle, and raw aggression. When a cat looks at a New York rat, it doesn't see a meal, it sees a lawsuit. Cats are hyper-rational predators. They are smart enough to know that a sparrow or a tiny house mouse is a low-risk, high-reward meal. A giant biting rat, however, is a high-risk gamble that could result in a nasty infection or a lost eye. This has led to one of the first wild theories currently circulating in urban biology circles, the non-aggression pact. Some observers believe that New York cats and rats have reached a sort of symbiotic stalemate. In the videos from the Brooklyn study, you don't see a chase, you see a negotiation. If a cat tries to show interest, the rat doesn't scurry away in terror. Instead, the rat often just stops, stands its ground, and stares the cat down. Usually, the cat is the one who blinks, turns around, and walks away with its tail between its legs. Some theorists go even further, suggesting that the abundance of trash in New York has essentially de-skilled our feline population. Why go through the physical trauma of wrestling a 1-pound rodent when there is half a discarded pepperoni pizza sitting in an open trash bag 3 feet away? We aren't just feeding the rats, we've turned the cats into dumpster-diving aristocrats who have no incentive to work for their dinner. Whenever the cat solution fails, someone invariably suggests bringing in a real monster. The most common candidate is the mongoose. It sounds like a great idea on paper. They're fast, they're vicious, and they have a reputation for eliminating cobras. But history shows that playing God with the food chain usually ends in a catastrophe. Look at Fiji in 1883. At the time, sugar was white gold, and the British Empire was desperate to protect its plantations from rats that were devouring the profits. They released the small Indian mongoose on several islands, expecting a rodent massacre. At first, it looked like a total victory. Within 6 months, rat sightings plummeted. Then, the rats did something brilliant. They evolved their schedule. The rats realized the mongooses were diurnal, active during the day, so the rats became strictly nocturnal. Since the mongooses couldn't find the rats at night, they didn't just starve, they pivot-tabled their diet. They started eating everything else: ground-nesting birds, rare reptiles, and even local pets. The same disaster repeated in Hawaii and Jamaica. Today, mongooses cause over $50 million in damage every year and are ranked among the most dangerous invasive species on Earth. If we brought them to New York, they wouldn't touch the rats. They'd probably just move to Central Park, eat all the ducks, and then migrate to the suburbs to harass suburban poodles. The Rat King and the secret subway intelligence. If biological warfare in the form of cats and mongooses won't work, we have to look deeper at why the rats are winning, and the answer is far more unsettling than simple numbers. This brings us to a more fringe, wild theory that is gaining traction among urban ecologists and disgruntled city planners alike: the infrastructure intelligence theory. There is a growing belief that the New York City subway system has acted as a multi-generational, high-pressure intelligence lab for rodents. While the city's domestic cats are lounging on sun-drenched brownstone stoops or chasing laser pointers in climate-controlled apartments, the rats are navigating one of the most complex, dangerous, and rewarding transit systems in the world. This isn't just survival, it is an advanced cognitive training ground. They understand track schedules with a precision that would baffle a tourist. They know exactly which stations have the best trash-to-human ratios, and they have developed a collective, inherited resistance to the city's standard repertoire of poisons. Some theorists suggest that New York rats are undergoing a rapid evolutionary shift, a literal acceleration of Darwinian principles occurring in the dark, damp tunnels beneath the feet of 8 million people. Because the city is so loud, so densely packed, and constantly vibrating with the low-frequency hum of subway energy, the rats that survive to reproduce are the ones with the highest levels of what experts call urban grit. We are, perhaps entirely by accident, breeding a class of super rats. These creatures are larger, more aggressive, and significantly more intelligent than their rural cousins. A country rat might fall for a simple snap trap or a pellet of poison, but a New York rat treats a trap like a puzzle to be solved, or a warning sign to be communicated to the rest of the colony. They have learned to recognize the scent of human interference, navigating around our best efforts with a casual, almost insulting indifference. There are even whispers about rat kings, not the mythical medieval bunch of rats with their tails hopelessly tangled together, but a metaphorical rat king hierarchy. In this version of the legend, the oldest and largest rats act as a sort of decentralized command structure. Observers have noted behaviors that suggest these patriarchs and matriarchs actually coordinate movements, directing younger, more expendable scouts to distract potential threats, while the core of the colony scavenges in peace. While this sounds like a discarded screenplay for a mid-tier horror movie, the behavior recently documented in neighborhoods like Bushwick and Bedford-Stuyvesant suggests a level of social confidence we haven't seen in rodents before. There are accounts of rats actively defying feline predators, not by scurrying away in fear, but by standing their ground, baring teeth, and forcing the cat to blink first. It's a shift from the traditional prey-predator dynamic to something closer to an uneasy, territorial standoff. Another critical factor we have to consider is the lingering fallout from the recent global health crisis. During the lockdowns, the city's ecosystem underwent a violent recalibration. As humans retreated indoors, the traditional food sources for street animals, restaurant dumpsters and pedestrian litter, evaporated overnight. This led to a massive surge in the stray cat population, but not for the reasons one might hope. Many people, faced with economic hardship or the chaos of relocation, could no longer afford to keep their pets, leading to an estimated 500,000 stray and feral cats roaming the 5 boroughs. You would think that an army of 500,000 feline hunters would make a definitive dent in the rat population. Instead, the problem grew exponentially worse. The reason for this failure is rooted in the harsh geography of poverty and neglect. These cats are mostly concentrated in low-income neighborhoods characterized by high densities of abandoned buildings and overflowing trash. In these specific environments, the buffet is so massive that the cats and rats have essentially become roommates. They aren't competing for food, they are sharing a surplus. When a trash bag contains half a discarded pepperoni pizza, a cat has no incentive to risk a nasty bite or a parasitic infection by attacking a 10-inch rat. Why hunt a difficult fighting prey when the sidewalk offers a sedentary feast? This has led to a wilder theory regarding the parasite Toxoplasma gondii. Usually, this parasite infects rodents and subtly rewires their brains to lose their fear of cat urine, making them more likely to be eaten, so the parasite can complete its life cycle inside the cat. But in the unique pressure cooker of New York, some suspect a reverse toxo effect. In this scenario, the sheer volume of rodents and the overwhelming environmental stimuli have created a strain of the parasite, or perhaps a behavioral adaptation, that makes the cats indifferent to the rats. The predator has been pacified by the sheer abundance of easier options, leading to a surreal coexistence where the two species trot past each other in the shadows like weary commuters on a platform. We can talk about the romanticized image of barn cats, the historical failure of mongooses in the Caribbean, and the rise of super rats all day. But experts from local universities are unanimous on one glaring, unglamorous thing. The problem is the trash. In the world of pest management, there are 2 primary ways to handle a population. The first is top-down control, which involves bringing in a predator like cats, mongooses, or even birds of prey. This almost always fails in an urban setting because predators are fundamentally lazy, or rather energy efficient, and the New York environment is far too rich in easy food. The second method is bottom-up control, which involves cutting off the food supply at its source. This is the only way that actually works in the long term. In New York, the bottom-up approach means one very specific, very difficult thing: ending the era of the plastic trash bag. It is a staggering realization that New York is one of the last major global cities that still piles mountains of leaky, thin plastic bags on the sidewalk every single night. To a rat, a plastic bag is not a barrier, it's a gift wrap. It's a scented advertisement for the treasures inside. A rat's teeth are harder than lead and can exert a pressure of up to 6,000 pounds per square inch. A 3-ply hefty bag doesn't even register as an obstacle. As long as there is an all-you-can-eat buffet on every street corner starting at 8 p.m., the rat population will remain invincible. It doesn't matter if the city releases 10 million cats. The rats will simply outbreed the rate of predation because they are so phenomenally well-fed. The biology of the brown rat is a masterpiece of reproductive efficiency. A well-fed female can have up to 7 litters a year, with up to a dozen pups per litter. These pups reach X-rated maturity in a matter of weeks. If you do the math, the exponential growth is terrifying. To make a dent through predation alone, a cat would have to be an eliminating machine of supernatural proportions. But cats are biological entities. They get tired, they get full, and they get bored. The rats, fueled by the endless caloric surplus of New York's waste, never stop. They are a biological tidal wave that no number of claws can hold back. The only real way to win this war is the containerization strategy. We need sealed, heavy-duty, rodent-proof bins that rats cannot chew through or climb into. This is the boring solution. It isn't as cinematic as a fleet of mongooses or a brigade of alley cats, but it's the only one backed by hard science. We have to move away from the 19th century habit of throwing our waste into the street and hoping for the best. The rats have mastered our infrastructure. They have turned our subways into their palaces and our trash bags into their pantries. They have adapted to every chemical and biological weapon we have thrown at them, growing smarter and bolder with every generation. If we want to reclaim the streets, we have to stop feeding the enemy. We have to starve them out. Until we change the way we handle our waste, we aren't the masters of this city. We are just the unwitting providers for the true owners of the underground. The rats aren't just winning because they are tough. They are winning because we are giving them the keys to the kitchen every night at dusk. Do you think New York will ever truly be rat-free, or have the rodents already won? This city is a mystery that keeps getting stranger. What is your take on the Predator plan? Tell us in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more deep dives into urban legends.